A lot of people are afraid of, AI and all these things, but I really just feel like the opportunities that it presents to these countries and, developing countries, I think it's just tremendous. But it's like they need the resources, they need the access. So it's like if they don't have access to computers, if they don't have access to somebody willing to teach them the skill of, the digital skills, then it's like they're blocked out. They're going to continue to be blocked out from the opportunity.
Step into the world of success with your brand amplified, the ultimate podcast designed to unravel the intricacies of thriving businesses. I'm your host, Annika Jackson, and I'm on a mission to uncover the stories, strategies, and secrets that have propelled entrepreneurs and business leaders to success. This week for Your Brand Amplified, we are celebrating Podcastathon, which is podcasters from all over the world coming together to talk about our favorite nonprofits. And one of those I'm so lucky to have with me today, the founder of InfluenceHers, Brittany Grey-Yadav. I am so excited to be here with you. Thank you so much for coming on the show. And I want to talk a little bit about your business. I want to talk about your different social enterprise and nonprofit initiatives, how you got started, how they connect, and just really dive in because this is something I think is so meaningful and purposeful. And I've been really happy to be part of a very small part of the journey so far. So thank you, Brittany, for being here.
Yeah, thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm really excited to speak with you today. And yes, you have been a part, whether you think it's, small or not, you are the great connector. I always tell people that. I've made amazing connections through you for the nonprofit, and I'm so grateful for that. So thank you. But yeah, so just a little bit of my story. Yeah, I was just, thinking that I love just talking because it also reconnects and it reminds me of my why. I think when we start businesses or any type of like initiatives, it's like you get so caught up in the doing and just executing that you forget sometime, like, okay, why? And that kind of like just reinvigorates you. So yeah, like my journey started in 2017. We started as a social impact company. And my goal was really to curate trips and experiences and events for more women, specifically women of color, to give back and travel. Just, cultivating that sense of like purpose and mission driven and service driven work that I feel is so integral to our well-being. And so that was really the mission in the beginning. I just started curating and hosting these trips to Africa. We went to Kenya and Tanzania every year, and we would just work with the community through my connections and go and, have a great time, but also very service driven. So we would just go to the nonprofits and say, hey, how can we be of service while we're here? We're a group of women with diverse, backgrounds. So we're, lawyers, we're entrepreneurs, we're nurses, doctors, all these different skill sets. And see, we, ideas like we want to contribute and where there's a need. We don't want to go in there like so many, I feel like nonprofits do, like, the savior complex, like that's not us. We don't want to do that. I think that's always been very important to me. So we always work with the nonprofit to say, what do you need? I know we're only there for a short amount of time, but we can do this. So we've done entrepreneur workshops to where we taught local business owners in the Nairobi area. We taught them how to market their business, create, business plans, financial plans and goals for their business. And I just love that because they got so much out of it. Even the women who weren't entrepreneurs, they were still able to just kind of like connect and talk through some of the ideas, and the experts will come through and just kind of, help guide them. So we've done stuff like that. We've done health and reproductive workshops led by the doctors and nurses. And yeah, we've just done a number of things. But like I said, it's always focused on what the need is in the moment. Like, for our nonprofit partners who already have like a stronghold in the community and they know what the community needs. So yeah, that's kind of like how we started. And yeah, I got that. I was inspired to start the organization through my own travels and visiting the continent for the first time. It was so transformational for me and so impactful, like just being a Black woman going to Africa for the first time. And I was solo traveling that year. So I met and so many people and traveled so many different places. And I said, I really want to go to Africa, but I want it to be meaningful. I want to go there and contribute in some way. And through those travels, I had somebody that was like, oh my gosh, I have this amazing organization. I'll connect you. And that was very random because I met that person in Myanmar in a meditation retreat. And so, yeah, the last day we could talk, and she was like, I have this great organization. So she connected us, and that's really how the journey began in that way.
Yeah, and that was one of the most impactful stories I think I've heard. And it's often I think the way that things start. You know that I'm also involved in a nonprofit called Learn Grow Lead. It started the same way. Somebody went to Africa and they met somebody who had a nonprofit there, and that sparked a whole bunch of other activities and seeing what the needs of the community were, not just what we could give. As you said, that savior complex, a lot of times people who come from maybe first world countries go to developing countries or less developed countries and think that we know better than the people who actually live there and have the day to day. And that, when you tell that story about how you traveled, and I remember specifically you said that people weren't used to seeing volunteers that looked like you. And that really, really struck me in the heart that, wow, this is why, like, this is part of your why, right? Is being able to show that there are volunteers who look like you, who will come over and give back because of the gifts that you've been given and the skills that you have.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, that definitely that story is, yeah, one of the very like integral stories. So I can't even believe I left it out. But yeah, like being there for that time with my own travels and, having the young girls that I was working with through the nonprofit, they were, teenagers, preteen the teenagers, and just them coming to me like, wait, you gotta look like us. Like, what are you doing here? Like. And then from there, it was just an instant kind of connection, honestly. They're like, okay, well, what hair products do you use? What do you use for your skin? It was almost like they saw themselves in me. And that was just like, oh my gosh, like, we are from two totally different cultures, but like, I just felt like there was an instant connection for me. And it filled me up so much that I was like, oh my gosh, like, I want to give this experience to more women. And I feel like I said, it's such an integral part of our well-being. And I think just women in color in general, like to get out there in the world and see, just expand your mindset and to just feel that purpose. And you come back to your country and to your work, and you just have that sense of like, just that confidence. I feel like that's what travel does for you, in my opinion. Once you expand your horizons and expand your mindset, it just fuels everything you do from there. Even if it's not nonprofit work, you just go out into the world and you're walking a little taller, your head's a little higher, so yeah, that was a very important and impactful experience having that.
Nice. And so you said it started out as social enterprise. So taking trips to the continent, doing volunteer work, bringing over volunteers that had skill sets. How has InfluenceHers evolved since then?
Yeah. So what I realized through those trips, after we left, a lot of the women would still want to continue to give and just to be involved in some way with the nonprofit. So from there, I'm like, okay, wait, I need to, think about how to, formalize this and be able to steward, their kindness and their whatever they wanted to donate, steward that in the right way. So I'm like, okay, now we need an actual 501c3. We need a nonprofit. So if people want to make donations through us, and we can deploy those resources in whatever way, based on our trips. That's where it really came from. But now it's expanded to be able to reach women even in the US through our micro grant program. So yeah, that's how, it started. I was like, okay, well, people want to continue being involved even, after the trip. And I think that is important because when I always think about traveling and doing any type of service work, a thought in my head is always, how can we sustain this? And I feel like if we can't be there in the present, if we can sustain and help to continue having an impact through, our donations or sending resources in any type of way, like then we're doing our part. We're doing the best we can. So yeah, so that's really what kind of like led to that push to, formalize and become a nonprofit so that we can just be able to have that impact and have women who have that desire to continue to give and make an impact, be able to know that, yes, what you're donating, it's going to the right place. And we're very transparent, with like whatever it is that they want to contribute to specifically.
Yeah. What are some of the programs that you fund today?
Yeah, so we have the digital marketing, the digital initiative, digital skills and education in Kenya. So we have that program that we've been supporting over the last few years. And then we also have the micro grant program. So with that, we just are able to give small micro grants to women-led initiatives and nonprofits. So yeah, a few of them that we funded is there is a local organization here in LA, and they work with teenage girls, just helping them with life skills and financial skills, just preparing them for the world when they get out there. So that's been one initiative and partnership that we've been able to fund that is obviously led by a woman. But I was really happy about that particular one because we were able to fund a young girl to go to Spain for the first time through that program. We didn't fund her full trip, but we were able to give a micro grant towards the greater cost for that. And then there's another organization we've provided donation and our grant to, and she works in Ukraine, providing like essential aid for them. And yeah, there's been a few others where we just got started last year with the actual formalization of the nonprofit. So we've been slowly just, fundraising and just trying to, provide the support where we can. And, we do events and things like that. So yeah, those are a few. Can't think of all of them off the top of my head. And then also, yes, so in Kenya, the partner that we have there. So we have the digital skills program, but we provided her a micro grant so that she was able to finally get her NGO status in Kenya, which opened her up to be able to receive grants and government funding, because before she was just like, I just need this, the same process of being formalized, right? So she was just a community-based organization. So we were able to give her a micro grant to, get that important work done to be official, recognized as an official NGO.
Yeah. And that actually ties into some of the work that you do in your day-to-day business as owner, managing director of Visible, which is also a digital company, right? So can you talk to us a little bit about Visible?
Yeah, absolutely. So Visible, I started in 2021. So during the pandemic, it's a SEO based digital marketing agency. So we focus on SEO, but we also do some influencer marketing and mostly influencer marketing and content marketing. But yeah, I started that in 2021. I had no idea, nothing about SEO. I knew nothing, but my husband did. So we kind of started it together. And then the reason why I even actually started with him and took it on because like he had a team and, they were doing SEO on like a small scale for one of his businesses, but then it just got too much for him to manage. So I'm like, okay, well, I've worked in digital marketing before, but I worked in programmatic and like paid. So I didn't have the SEO skill set. So I was just like, well, it has to be some overlap. And, I'm a fast learner. So yeah, that's kind of how it started. I just went into it and I was like, I can do this. And yeah, what are we, 4 or 5 years later? Yeah, we're, rolling and it's been great. And I just love everything that I've learned about the power of organic marketing. And I think that it's just, it's helped me in so many ways and things that, even in nonprofit. But yeah, it's organic and it's, content marketing. That's an integral part of SEO. So so that's what we do. And yeah.
And with that, because you mentioned the digital skills building in Nairobi. So can you talk a little bit more about what people are learning over there? Is it all girls, women? And beyond supplying the grant to help get your partner over there get status, or is there a connection between your business and the skills that the people are learning over in Kenya?
Yeah, so the program, it started with me training a local, like he was a college student, like a recent grad. So I was there, I met him. I was just so impressed by him that I was like, okay, I really think that we should start this, this program. And he already had some experience in like web dev. So I was like, well, I'm sure you can learn the skills necessary to teach this class and just become more, digital literate and educated yourself. So I kind of took him under my wing, hired him with my agency. And I had him doing mostly just like smaller tasks, like publishing and some, research, keyword research and things like that. And he just took off. Like he started helping us with like SEO strategy, like I said, keyword research and optimizations and all that. And so, he really learned so much that from there, he was able to go and just lead the digital skills program. So with the program, it's teens, so secondary, and it is both girls and boys. And they are kids that have come from like the local schools, which are, the government schools. So they don't have a lot of resources and funding. So they go to the community center where that was built by one of our partners. There's a small, tiny computer lab. And we have this student. Well, he's not a student now. He's graduated, but he's the one who teaches the classes. He teaches them like twice a week. And we started then using a platform called Simplified. Well, a shameless plug. Yeah, it's one of my husband's companies. And this is like a all-in-one digital marketing platform where you can go in and you can create graphics, you can create video, pretty much all the digital assets you need to market whatever it is. So we started them on that platform and in Canva as well, which should probably shouldn't say because they're technically a competitor, but it's a great platform as well. And we felt like, they should know all the platforms that they have at their disposal, to really use and take advantage of. So we built out a curriculum just for what they would learn like each week. And so one week it's focusing on like the actual like digital graphics. And then the second is like, creating reels. The third one is learning how to like schedule and publish the content. And then the fourth is kind of like, okay, once you've mastered the art of like digital content creation and things like that, how can you actually find work? So teaching them the different platforms that they can use to go on and, become, freelancers and things like that in Kenya. So yeah, that's the program. And, it's just been a work in progress and excited to hopefully expand it and just get them some more resources so they can build it out. But it's just so heartwarming seeing like the kids, like they said, send us pictures and show us like the kids and they're creating like their graphics and their flyers. And, we tell them like, you have a potential market all around you, all these business owners, because, one thing I do appreciate about these countries, like the people they're so smart, they're so resilient, and they will make a business out of anything. Like, and then there's a business in the area, and they sell just they resell shoes. So they give people shoes, they clean them up and fix them up, and that's their business. So we tell the kids like, hey, you can, if you know how to create digital marketing materials and things like that, you can help these businesses and, become their person. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fantastic. And have you heard any stories anecdotally of some of the kids, the jobs that they've been able to get or the work that they're doing after learning all these skills?
Yeah, not really, not yet, because they're kind of young. So they haven't actually, I don't think moved, like they haven't graduated yet. So they're still in school. So like, eighth, ninth, 10th grade. And, so yeah, they're pretty young.
Yeah. No, but that's fantastic that they're getting the skill set at such an early age, because then as things change and evolve and digital, then they'll be able to learn everything before they actually get into the job market.
Absolutely. I think digital literacy and being able to work in the digital economy, in my opinion, is the kind of great equalizer. And a lot of people are afraid of, AI and all these things, but I really just feel like the opportunities that it presents to these countries and, developing countries, I think it's just tremendous. But it's like they need the resources, they need the access. So it's like if they don't have access to computers, if they don't have access to somebody willing to teach them the skill of, the digital skills, then it's like they're blocked out. They're going to continue to be blocked out from the opportunities, just to advance in life. But I do see like, there's so much potential there. They just need the access. So
yeah. Fantastic. And are you still taking groups over to do in-person volunteer work?
Yeah, we are. We haven't done a trip in the last couple of years just because it's been a lot for me personally. But our next trip, we're planning for 2026. And I'm really excited that we are launching a teen program here in the US, in LA specifically. But this is a year-long development program to where we want to prepare a group of teens to travel with us to Africa to have that experience. So it's going to be, like I said, a year-long kind of preparation where they'll have classes and courses on like cultural awareness, education, leadership skills, and just the various skills I feel like that they need not only in life, but also just preparing for such a big trip. And just, it can be a culture shock traveling, to a country like Africa or anywhere like that, for the first time. So we want to make sure that they just understand and they're, prepared and excited about, the journey. So I'm very, very excited about that because I'm like, I wish I would have had that opportunity to travel when I was that young. But I think, yeah, the earlier that they get that opportunity, the better, and the more confident leaders that they can become.
Yeah, definitely. And then turning back to the United States, you talked about a couple of nonprofits that you work with. You just told us about the initiative with the Teen Girls program. What other organizations are you giving microgrants to?
Yeah, so for right now, those are the ones so that program, the teen program, is our biggest focus for this year. And it came out of us giving that micro grant to that particular program. We saw like, okay, this is really impactful. They're doing such amazing work with teens already. How can we just amplify and partner with them just to really kind of focus in on one organization and be able to like, set goals with them and kind of see that ride out. And, because it's like, I love the fact and the opportunity to give micro grants, but sometimes it's like, you don't really know how big the impact is, but I feel like kind of partnering with one organization and saying, hey, okay, at least for a year, we're going to really just like try to support you guys and have our fundraising efforts really, focus in on this initiative to build up your organization and awareness for what you're doing and just, yeah, come together, join forces. Like, so that's kind of our focus for this year. I think as far as the micro grants, it's like a need basis. So on our website, we have apply for micro grant. So if you're like, like a woman led, small initiative or, nonprofit and you need it for specific, like a small project or something, then we invite, anybody to apply for that and we kind of evaluate on a need basis. But when it comes to like, just having a particular organization, we're kind of just, thinking that this year it'll be great to just focus on one and just really try to see what the impact would be like diverting most of our attention there. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the big problems, especially when you're starting out, you're smaller nonprofit, all volunteer led. It's the same thing that happened with Learn, Grow, Lead. We focused on Ghana, but our goal was to expand to a whole bunch of micro projects. But then there's so much need with just one
Which
organization.
one?
So you kind of have to figure out like, do we just keep on helping one organization and get it as far as it can go before we turn to, because there's so much need. And I would say that with everything going on in the world right now, there's even more than ever, which is so sad to say.
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I definitely feel that. And yeah, we do what we can, right? You can only, and I think it's just a learning process as well. Like you go through it and you're like, okay, we did this and maybe we didn't see as much impact. Maybe if we did it this way, then this might render, better results and where we can have a measurable impact. But yeah, I do like that's kind of like our focus now. So just having that one main partner right now in the US and then our main partner in Africa and Kenya. And yeah, just being able to have programs to where we can like measure them at the end of the year and say, okay, we were able to make that impact. So
Fantastic. And how do people get involved if people want to learn about, becoming advisor or a main donor, or you said you also have some different activities that you do with members in the United States, or they want to go travel with you?
yeah, absolutely. So I would say number one, just signing up definitely for our email list. So you can just like be in the loop of what we're doing. And then, reaching out if there's something specifically that you're, called to support. I think like I love one-on-one conversations because we're still small enough to where we can do that and, establishing really strong partnerships and getting strong supporters is really important. We're, definitely focused on like community building. So, if you're in the LA area or, abroad, we're working on virtual events for the year. And these are, yeah, mostly like empowerment events and just bringing together women to just, talk and share resources and learn how we can become better, stronger leaders in our communities. So yeah, we're definitely, going to be doing some virtual events and these are open to all, if in the beginning, yes, we had like, thought about a social enterprise of like, how would it be like having members? But I realized also we just want to grow right now. We want to grow organically, and just like have people to come to events, see what we're all about. And if they still call to support, then yeah, we have donate button and we have a donate page. So, we're definitely looking for monthly donors to support the work that, we're going to be doing. And this year with the teen program, we have a lot of workshops that we're organizing for the teens. So that's going to require resources. And then ultimately in 2026, we want to be able to fully fund the trip for these 8 teens. 8 to 10 teens that were going to be taken on the trip with us. So yeah, a lot of our efforts this year is just going to be like, bringing in people into the community and getting them excited about our work, attending our events, and just building those relationships really organically.
Fantastic. And the website will be linked in the show notes, but it's influencehers.org for anyone who is interested. Brittany, do you have one final thing people should think about when they're thinking about travel, volunteering? What's the first step that they could take, or what's something that they should think about?
I would say, I think thinking about your why. Thinking about your why, because, we all travel for different reasons. And I don't think any of those reasons are not important and not to be honored. Some of us travel, specifically for self-care, and, you're burnt out at your job, you're, burnt out in your family. And, you need those experiences as an individual to fill up your cup so that you can go and pour into whatever, is important to you. And I think that people should know that, it doesn't take you starting a nonprofit for you to have an impact. I think that your impact can be like in your family, in your community, in your church, like whatever that is, like just being able to be a beacon of like inspiration and hope is enough. But you can't pour from an empty glass. So that's what I always say. So like whatever that is that fills your glass up is so important. And travel, it definitely is that for me. So like it may not be for, everybody. Other people have different ways, but that definitely, I think travel, like just knowing your why. So if it is for self-care, let it be that. Don't feel pressure to go out and do a service trip or, volunteer trip. It doesn't have to be that, and that's what I do. So like sometimes I know, okay, this is going to be like a service exploratory trip, but then sometimes I just want to lay out on the beach, I want to get massages. I want to relax. And, you can do both. But, I just think that, traveling, it has so many different benefits and values for people. And I just think that, just connecting it to whatever goal you have for yourself to grow as an individual is the most important thing. And just be able to contribute in a way that feels meaningful to you in the world.
And do you have a favorite quote, verse, poem, family motto, mantra that inspires you to keep doing what you do?
Yeah. Okay, yeah. So I've learned that you shouldn't go through life with the catcher's mitt on both hands. You need to be able to throw something back, by Maya Angelou. I love that quote. And that's why I was like, I didn't want to mess it up because I'm like, the catcher's mitt. But yes, you shouldn't go through life having catcher's mitt on both hands. You have to be able to throw something back. And I just love that. I love that so much. And I think that gets so lost in today's society. Like we're always, what can you give me? What can you do for me? Right? But when do you ever have a free hand to throw something back? So I really, really love that quote. So, yeah.
Amazing. Awesome. Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate your time and inspiration today. Again, we have InfluenceHers in the show notes for everybody. Thank you for being here, part of Podcaston. Again, you can go to podcaston.org to learn about all the different nonprofits that we're talking about this week. And I just wanted to share one that's been a part of my life for the past few years and really impactful to me. So thank you to everybody who's watching this episode or listening to it on your favorite platform. And I'll serve up some more inspiration with another amazing guest tomorrow to tell a little bit about their journey, their story, and what is most meaningful to them. Thanks for listening or watching to this episode of Your Brand Amplified. Don't forget to leave us a rating or review on your favorite podcast listening platform. And if you want to learn more, check us out at yourbrandamplified.com.